What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon Howse.
All right, welcome. Glad you're with us. We're going to be joined here by Annie Cyrus, and we want to talk about something that really fits well with what we've been warning about here now for many, many years, and that is, well, I think starting in 2008 on our website, so that's certainly many years. On our website in 2008, we started warning about a group called La Raza. It's perhaps translated as the race. It's a group of people that believe that New Mexico, Arizona, California, that they have been colonized by the Christians and the whites, the white supremacists, if you will. And it needs to be taken back for the race, I guess made part of Mexico. Well, we warned about that group, as I said, starting on our website about 2008. Another group we've been warning about for many, many, many years is, of course, the Weather Underground. They were involved in the many terrorist domestic bombings in the late 60s and early 70s. Bill Ayers, Bernardine Dorn, etc., including having interviewed myself, the man that went undercover into that group, Larry Brothwall. He went undercover for the Ohio police and then eventually the FBI. Well, the Weather Underground, they wrote a manifesto in about 1973, 74, somewhere in there. One of the guys that's going to bring it to me. It's a really big, thick document. It says Weather Underground Prairie Fire right on the cover. Well, in that document, if it's not down there, it's not down there. I sure thought it was. In that document, the Weather Underground, they're talking about the system, burning down the system. And of course, as we've always said for years, the system they're talking about is capitalism, right? Remember Karl Marx, my object in life is to dethrone God and destroy capitalism. Then they go on to praise the Palestinian Liberation Organization, the PLO. Sound familiar, folks? And then they go on to praise China and Mao Zedong. Well, now there's a group out that many are finding out about called the Turtle Island Liberation Front. The Turtle Island Liberation Front. It was the last one you found, was it, my friend? Well, there it is. The Weather Underground Prairie Fire, a political statement, came out in July of 1974. And any of you can get a copy of it. Mine is all flagged up with Post-it notes. And it's really quite interesting to connect these groups together. By the way, don't forget about the movie that came out earlier this year. We played the trailer and warned about it. Remember that? That was the movie called One Battle After. And that was starring Leo DiCaprio. Leo DiCaprio, is that how you say his name? Leo DiCaprio. And wasn't that movie about basically going after ICE and bombings? And I compared it to a Weather Underground, modern day Weather Underground movement when we talked about it. Well, now you hear that the authorities in California, working in concert with the FBI, have arrested some folks that are reportedly tied to this group, the Turtle Island Liberation Front. Well, I want to talk about that today, but before I do, I did write an article this morning researching this group. I wanted to tie them, at least their ideology, back to the Weather Underground, back to La Raza, and show you that there's really nothing new under the sun. These are various splinter groups that I think are united in their worldview. If you go to worldviewtube.com and then go to our news section, or you can get right there by going, I think, to worldviewtimes.com, worldviewtimes.com, you'll see the article this morning that I put out called Turtle Island, the Turtle Island Liberation Front. And I subtitled it, A Frontline Assault in the Worldview War Against America. And this is very, again, instructive because for how long have myself and others, including my next guest, Annie Cyrus, been warning you that we were going to see an increase of terrorist attacks in America hitting multiple locations in the same day or in the same 48 hours? Well, apparently this group, according to press reports and the government, state and federal, this group was planning various bombings. And were they targeting ICE? Again, sounds kind of similar to the movie. that we just talked about earlier this year. Wow, predictive programming? And then I want to also talk with Annie about the murder of a young Christian gal from Alabama who was going to Brown University on the East Coast. We have an article about her at worldviewreport.com. Worldviewreport.com. And the reason this is connected to this is because reportedly the gunman was screaming Allah Akbar. But the police, well, they don't want to tell us. In fact, I have a lengthy video of the police and the mayor going round and around trying to avoid telling the press when they're asking what did the individual scream. I think we all can pretty well guess. Now, on my Worldview report tonight, I'm reporting the fact that this was an economics class that the gunman went into, where they were practicing for an exam. And one of the young ladies, as I said, who was murdered was, I think, 19 years old. And she was described as a Christian. She was described as a person of faith. She was, I believe, the vice president of one of the Republican clubs. She was apparently, according to the reports I've read, known for her opposition to the LGBTQ trans agenda. Now I'm reading reports that she was killed rather close up. And here's the question. Was this a targeted attack? Was this a targeted attack? Was this gunman going for her? And there is out today, and again, I have it at worldviewreport.com, our daily aggregated news site, an article on this. Disturbing details, Revolver News reports. Disturbing details emerge. Was Brown University another Charlie Kirk-style assassination? The young lady's name is Ella Cook, a sophomore from Alabama, vice president of the Brown College Republicans. She was murdered in a shooting that has way more questions than answers. But now we have a veteran journalist by the name of Mark Halperin. And sources have told him that Ella Cook may have been the intended target. Halperin is clear that he does not know whether this is true, but if it were, he explains it would significantly change how this case should be understood. Mark points out that there are many things about the case that are raising eyebrows. First, the reported behavior of the attacker. In many school shootings, the shooters continue until stopped. But this shooter reportedly entered, carried out the attack, and left. That has led many to believe that this looks more like a targeted act than some random spree. Next, the response from authorities was telling. Brown students were told that they were safe, even though no suspect had been taken into custody. And lastly, the surveillance question that keeps coming up. It is, as I'm going to deal with tonight in my report, Worldview Report newscast, the campus is just covered in cameras. Well, we're literally talking about this right now. Brown University shooting person of interest spotted now in new images. That's what's coming out right now as we're on the air. So, was that a targeted attack? Was that another Charlie Kirk-style takeout of a conservative Christian? The reason I bring that up, folks, is because both of these groups, whether we're talking the Turtle Island Liberation Group, they have a hatred of Christianity. It's certainly Christian values. The idea that somehow Christianity and capitalism is the source of all suffering and oppression. And Annie and I talked extensively in early 2025, warning that we believe 2025 was going to be a year where we saw more terrorist attacks in America, and we began to increasingly warn about multiple terrorist attacks in one day or within a 24 to 48 hour period. It looks like one of those was just spoiled. What would have been multiple terrorist attacks in one day. And then we said, look out, because we believe 2025 will be a year in which Christians will specifically now begin to be targeted more aggressively. We've had the targeting of Jews. They've been coming for the Saturday people, now it appears they're going to become more aggressively involved in coming after the Sunday people, Christians. You remember Annie and I warning about that early in 2025? Long before Charlie Kirk was murdered. And then we have 2 young Christians that were murdered outside of an event in Washington, D.C. And remember we had on our friend Marty Goetz's daughter to talk about how she knew one of them and that for sure the young man was a Christian and reportedly she had recently become a believer as well. You also remember that Hadiya Miramati and I have also been discussing something that the FBI Director Kash Patel put out earlier in the year, and that is a new, if you will, new coalition that the Islamists now are openly working with the LGBTQ, think Charlie Kirk's assassin, reportedly. Maybe this guy. That there's a merging of the Islamists with the LGBTQ crowd, and they don't care about converting them to Islam. That's what we reported a few months ago. They don't care if they convert them to Islam. At this point, they just want them to help them take out their targets. And there appears to be a growing target list of specific groups and individuals. This group is being known as nihilistic violent extremist. Nihilistic. Life has no ultimate meaning, nihilism. It doesn't matter if you help the little old lady across the street or shove her in front of a bus, because life ultimately has no meaning. Or as Friedrich Nietzsche, the father of postmodernism, one of the 2 founders, put it, the will to power. The will to power. Spiritualized cruelty. So these 2 stories actually are converging. The Turtle Island Liberation Front and the growing targeting of conservatives, and particularly Christians who are involved in the culture war. Joining me now is Annie Cyrus of liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.substack.com as well. Annie, before we go to the break, please get started. What do you make of my opening monologue today?
Very accurate. It is very accurate. It is not a new topic. It's new to America, but it has been practiced by both Islam and Marxist over the years, for those who care to hear history. But we can expand on it when we come back. I hear the music. That's my cue to stop talking.
Okay. We're also getting breaking news. MIT professor shot dead in Brookline home. That's what the Massachusetts State Police have launched a homicide investigation. Wow. Just doesn't stop, does it? We'll see what that's all about. I was looking to see what her last name was. All right, we'll come back with more. Annie Cyrus, we'll check on this during the break. Get back to you guys here after this very short break on Worldview Tube and VCY America Radio Network.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
Okay, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio, our website, worldviewradio.com. Annie, here is the New York Post. What is Turtle Island Liberation Front? the extremist anti-government group whose offshoot planned a New Year's Eve terror attack. Now, Turtle Island Liberation Front, a little-known pro-Palestinian anti-law enforcement and anti-government extremist group, has quietly been raising funds and resources to usher in a revolutionary change in government. Okay? And I'm sure they're quoting most of this right off their own website. But here's the problem. A lot of people are making a big issue about this being a so-called pro-Palestinian group. But what they're missing is, I think this is a Marxist group, very much like the Weather Underground, that was also pro-Palestinian. In other words, make sure we put the Marxism before the pro-Palestinianism. This isn't a Palestinian group. It appears to be a Marxist group that's pro-Palestinian. And you have to ask yourself, why do these Marxists have some kind of affinity for the Palestinians? Well, I would say for a couple reasons. Their hatred of Christians and Jews, they can unite on that. Their hatred of what they call colonialism, or occupiers, or genocide. And that's the language they put on all of conservative, patriotic, Christian Americans, particularly when you're talking about La Raza and these groups. We're occupiers. We have stolen the land from the indigenous people. Now, that's not to say there aren't some legitimate beefs historically with how some groups like Native Americans have been treated. But all of these groups they exploit America's trials and troubles, like the civil rights movement, as warned by Manning Johnson, at one time the highest ranking black communist in America, who ended up flipping in the 1950s, wrote a book called Color, Communism, and Common Sense. And we have, 3 or 4 one-hour TV shows on I Did that's available in the vault for members of the vault at worldviewtube.com/vault. So they exploit things. But they claim that we are occupiers, that we are colonizers. That's what Israel is blamed for being. So you can see, Annie, where the Marxist would find a common cause with the Islamist and the pro-Palestinians as a collection. Of course, I think also their commitment to socialism, right, and various structures that they want to implement. What do you make of this?
I will say you are very correct. However, it is completely reverse. So, Lord willing, as soon as the first book is out, the second project is to talk about the red-green axis is out there, right? Mm-hmm. Now we need to face the black-green axis. Very new to Western countries. But 2 years, this would be 1977, 2 years before King of Iran was toppled, he talked about the green-black axis. And he brought the history up, and he explained it to the Iranian people, to Middle Easterns. And years later, I was aware of it, but now I'm seeing it in America. It is exactly what you're explaining, but it's reverse. It is when the Islamists find the black. Everything we talk about goes green, red turns into black at this point.
Okay, so instead of it being a Marxist, red being the Marxist, green being the Islamist, now you're saying the coalition is a black, green, which is
when green expands into any and every opposition to the nation it needs to conquer.
And who's the black?
That becomes black.
Okay.
Black is Marxist, communist, socialist, LGBTQ, leftist who hates America, migrants who hate America. That's black.
Which is your Antifa black colors. Your black colors Antifa.
Exactly. It goes from red to black when every single person, every single organization and cause and movement that is against that nation comes to play. So
when your red is your Marxist, now your black would be your LGBTQ, any of the groups that are claiming that they are oppressed and persecuted by Christians, capitalism, the system.
Hispanics, blacks, Middle Easterns, illegals, just the average leftist progressive, they all get dragged into the fight by the green.
So it's really the coalition victim that was put together by Herbert Marcuse of the Frankfurt School. He said, we got to create a coalition of victims and then say, who are your oppressors? And that would, so he went after the sexual minorities, the feminists, the illegal immigrants, etc., and said, who's oppressing you? And they would say the Christians, the capitalists. So you create that coalition of victims. And now instead of them being just straight out all Marxist, now they can come from all kinds of backgrounds. They may not even be Marxist. They may see themselves more as just a fascist, right? Or they may see themselves more as, think of some other religious group that really maybe isn't so much about Marxism, but their ideology, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right?
That is, now, way back in the time, Mohammed used it. In my first book, Architecture of Jihad, I touch on black-green axis through historical acts of Mohammed creating a certain jihad. That is when Muslims will use the oppressed to conquer, using them, then giving them a chance to convert or die. But during that jihad, they are left alone with their beliefs and practices, just like when you see Linda Sarsour cheering the LGBTQ rallies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Though she knows if they don't convert and they don't become straight, they're all going to be thrown off buildings. Today, she's not to show any dispute to their, wrongdoings or sins. This was practiced back then. It has been, again, this is how the Shah of Iran was toppled. Shah of Iran, the topple of Shah of Iran, though we sit here and simplify it to Carter and CIA, when you look at the beginning to the end of the 1979 revolution, you see it started with the group of students, college students, who were following the Soviet Union rules of Marxism. Then they merged into the next group to become bigger, who were the leftists of Iran with money, who were willing to fund them. Then they added the Islamic source into it. You see the graduate. This is what we're facing now in America. This is where you see those who claim victimhood are quickly built up to a movement. They're funded quickly. Where's this money coming from? There's the green and black are standing by to absorb more soldiers, and those soldiers are going to help them topple the current government, either Shah of Iran or American government. Either way, that's what we're looking at.
And this group is called Turtle Island because I guess they see that's Turtle Island is basically their name for North America. That's why, just for those who are like, why is it called Turtle Island Liberation Front? Turtle Island is a way of describing all of North America. They think should be under their control, which includes burning down the system, destroying the system, which is the free market system, capitalism, the U.S. government, revolution. Now, if you go to the New York Post article, you'll see that they've got pictures from this group reportedly being death to ICE, death to America, long live Turtle Island in Palestine, et cetera, et cetera. An American catastrophe, fascism, all kinds of literature there. Isn't that interesting how it fits with that movie, One Battle After, that we were worrying about earlier in the year, which involves people going after ICE and bombing and whatnot? It seems this group was, at what point do I have to think that this is not, again, orchestrated by some of the dark intelligence groups? You get a movie that's about a group going after ICE with bombs and kind of a weather underground, modern day weather underground. And then voila, a few months later, here pops up one doing just that with multiple terrorist attacks planned. I don't know. It seems a little too obvious, doesn't it?
And then you add that to the recent news of Warner Brothers being sold in the highest bidder or Qatar and Saudi Arabia, and President Trump jumping in to vouch for them over Netflix. You put all of that together, we can make a very clear guesstimate of what is coming in 2026.
Which is?
Openly, right now they use covers, but openly targeting white, Christian, conservative crowd, openly targeting and persecuting anyone who speaks out that goes against the narrative. pushing the digital ID and the surveillance to silence people like me and you. That is what I see coming 2026.
Mm-hmm.
And openly.
And
by the way, just
yeah?
so you know, the MIT professors seem to be an actual assassination much bigger than I thought it would be. Nuno Loureiro from Portugal, 47-year-old nuclear science and engineering professor.
Yeah, and that's what I said to the team during the break. I said, oh my, look at what she does. Nuclear science. He?
It's a he.
Okay. Nuclear science. Oh, there's a picture of a woman at the top of my page. Okay. Nuclear, but that's probably just something else they're promoting. Nuclear science and engineering and physics, as well as the director of MIT's Plasma Science and Fusion Center. So I don't know. I guess we'll wait.
It is so interesting. I'm just going to say this. Just take it however you like. My show today, this afternoon, on Worldview Tube, my show, it's already scheduled so you can see the title and all of it, is actually how Islamic Republic of Iran finds its way to its targets no matter how far away they are. That's my coverage today about Iran.
So let's assume this individual is working with our government and MIT, through nuclear science and engineering and physics, and of course there would be various enemy states that would want to start taking out your brain trust like this, correct?
Or let's look at it the other way. As we know, a lot of our universities, a lot of our professors have been funded to train our enemies' brains and send them back home, and they end up being loose ends that needs to be get rid of. Because that's what Iran does. They have a long resume of Westerners who trained Iran's brains to be taken out later. Normally, though, it's a car accident.
Why do they want them taken out? If they trained their people, why do they want them taken out?
Because then they know who their people are.
Okay.
Because if they're ever captured, if somehow their information is leaked, and let's say FBI or CIA get their hands on an American professor or a trainer, they're going to spill everything. What they trained them on, who they trained, who paid for it.
Mm-hmm. And we're not accusing this individual of doing that, but you're saying this.
No. I'm just saying
to look for
possibilities.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So let's go back to the fact we're worrying about Christians being targeted. There is obviously a war on white Americans. I don't know what's going on here with this one. I saw it a couple of days ago. Very, very troubling. This is in Georgia, Savannah, Georgia. Woman suffers severe burns in Forsey Park, acid attack. Okay.
Oh gosh.
Have you seen this?
No, I saw it as you put it up.
Yeah. Okay. Apparently, the individual walking by just threw acid on her. She started screaming. She had no idea what was going on. Her clothes started burning off. The people say her cries and screams were horrific, as you could well imagine. And we'll talk about who supposedly did this on the other side of the break, and then get to the young lady that was murdered in the Northeast at Brown University, who appears to have been maybe targeted because she was a described Christian. We'll be right back.
Introducing the Sentry Wellness System, the ultimate under-sink water treatment solution designed with you in mind. Say goodbye to harmful toxins and hello to water enriched with essential nutrients like calcium and magnesium. Enjoy the benefits of increased pH for on-demand alkalinity, all from a zero-waste system that fits seamlessly into your home. Installation is a breeze, taking just 15 minutes, so you can have clean, healthy, great-tasting water straight from your tap. Perfect for apartments, homes, rentals, and even RVs. Elevate your hydration and well-being with the Sentry Wellness System because you deserve the best in every drop.
Sentry H2O. Tap into wellness.
You're watching Worldview Tube, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio website, worldviewradio.com. Here's the New York Post headline from December 13th, just a few days ago. Church-going woman. You hear that, folks? The New York Post. Church-going woman suffered severe burns in random toxic chemical attack while walking at the park. A Georgia woman suffered severe burns to her face and body after being doused with a toxic chemical in a random attack while she was strolling through a park. And her sadistic assailant is still on the loose. She was walking laps at Forsyth Park in Savannah, Georgia on Wednesday after attending a Christmas program at a nearby church when a stranger approached her from behind and poured the corrosive liquid over her head. She let out a blood-curdling scream, and the chemical burned her skin, ate through her clothing, and melted her car's key fob in her pocket. She was instantly like, "Why are you pouring water on me?" And then her skin started to burn. She looked down and her pants were starting to burn off her body. She started screaming. They didn't rob her. They didn't take anything from her. This was a random person in the park who went out there, out of their way to disfigure another human being. And apparently they now have a picture of a guy. Authorities are searching for a person of interest who was last seen in surveillance footage sporting blue jeans and dark hooded sweatshirt while with a white cartoon rabbit. Isn't that interesting? The headline from the New York Post. Church-going woman. Annie? I mean, this fits our whole theme we're doing today.
Yes, it does. It does, and not to do this too often on your program, but in late May, early June of this year, when you asked me what do I think of what's coming, I said, wait until we get close to holidays.
You did. You sure did.
It is such a pattern, and the fact that our own authority are not spotting the pattern or they refuse to acknowledge the pattern is this is not acceptable. It's not acceptable anywhere, but I've seen it. You've heard of the, random acid attacks in Tehran towards women who don't wear the proper hijab. This is America. This is Georgia. By the way, this is the same state. Just for the record, this is the state that, some 7+ Muslims are running for midterm. Just putting it out there.
So if you had to guess, was this an Islamic attacker or a Marxist attacker? Was this the black or the green?
At this point, let's make something for the future discussions. There are no differentiations anymore. Mm-hmm. There aren't. The method is Islamic. Method is very Islamic. But actors, for lack of a better term, are not going to be separated. There will be those who will be arrested. They are not practicing Muslims. They're not practicing Islam. They are, however, part of the black-green axis. And vice versa, you might see an attack that you would think BLM member, and then the person arrested will be a Muslim. This is exactly what blend of black-green comes in to, as King Pahlavi phrased it, the best way to confuse the nation, not to know the cause of its collapse, is when you replace actors with the allies of the real actor. I hope that makes sense in English.
Yeah.
It does. That's what's going to happen. Where we're going to think, like, for example, not to jump ahead, but the Brown University.
No, I was going there anyway.
The person
that's where I wanted to transition to anyway, so go ahead.
The attacker supposedly screamed Allahu Akbar. Does that mean he was a Muslim? We don't know until he's arrested. We don't name. We dig and get the background. But we will hear a lot more Allahu Akbar when the target might be a target of a Marxist group or a LGBTQ group. This is where they're gonna try to confuse. There is nothing to be confused about for me and you and your audience, because we're all well educated on the topic, but average people are gonna be very confused as to, wait, who's the enemy now? Well, it wasn't a Muslim. Oh no, it was the Muslim. Wait, it was an Islamic attack. So they're gonna merge methods. The acid attacks are very much Islamic methods. For example, one of my bounties from Newell, Missouri, very specific to burn her with acid. The imam at the mosque there has put out, this issue was 2017, but it's very specific that she needs to be punished by acid. Like, that's how Islamic this is. They put that in an order of how to get the person. However, is the person Muslim? I don't have enough information. Also, that picture was so blurry, I couldn't even tell much. Like, what are we supposed to look? If he gets rid of that hoodie, there's no finding him, I guess. Which brings us to why, with advanced technology we have, why are the pictures released? May he rest in peace. When Charlie Kirk was assassinated, within hours, clear pictures were out. Within a day or so, the assassin was arrested. But why this one, or the Brown University, the pictures are all fuzzy and cloudy and nobody's arrested, or the wrong person was arrested, they were released, next person. It's just, it doesn't make sense. Well, it does to me, but that's an opinion I should keep to myself.
Let's go to the police, because the police, they don't want to say what the two words were that were reportedly shouted before the gunman went into, if I understood correctly, it was double check me on this, Annie. I think it was a 7-story building. This economics class was a 7-story building. And we're reporting on our Worldview report tonight that it was some kind of economics class. There was an economics at the crossroads of something related to Judaism, the Jews. So very, very interesting in of itself. And if you have what I heard was a 7-story building, the individual knew right where to go in a 7-story building to this class. And if the reports are true from the journalists who are saying they have sources that she was targeted and that it was up close, and then the person left, why were they targeting this Christian who was apparently known for her opposition to the LGBTQ agenda and was a vice president of the Republican Club on the campus? But the police don't want to say anything. Listen to this refusal to address this straight on.
The shooter yelled something right before his shot came in. Can you tell us what that was?
Yeah, so part of the investigation, Johnny moved, yeah.
Now, the only reason I asked that, though, is, for instance, like with the Unabomber, his brother recognized the writing. So it's possible a friend or family member might recognize if the person said something that was significant.
Correct.
That's why you don't, other than the 9mm, is there anything else inside that auditorium that you could tell us?
No, that's correct. And listen, like I said earlier, investigations will bring us to evidence that we need to collect in order to be able to prosecute.
And I'm just to save us the time. This goes on for 1 minute and 42 seconds. He doesn't want to say.
And he refused to answer.
Yeah, he refused to answer. Yeah, it was Allah Akbar. If that's what it was, why wouldn't he just say? I think we all know. Now, let's go.
That doesn't fit the narrative. By the way, the shooting took place on room 166 on the first floor, which was a lecture hall, and a teaching assistant was leading an introductory economics final exam review session at a time of the shooting.
And that is a 7-story building, though, right?
It is a 7-story building, but the shooting was on the first floor, room 166.
And the reason I bring up the height of the building is that's a pretty big room. So out of all the rooms in that building, why did he choose that room?
Exactly.
Why did he choose that class? All right, let's go.
Because he had it. I don't know if she was or not, because I've seen other reports about the assistant teacher who might have been the target. But this is going to happen, Brennan. They're going to avoid the direct label of assassination by making them. I mentioned this on my show yesterday. We need to change our mindset when it comes to mass shootings now.
In other words,
they are going
assassinations are going to be covered by mass shootings.
Especially because mass shootings, especially at schools and universities, are so normalized to Americans, we don't even look at it twice, which is sad. But they're going to use it against us because we have got to the point where, like, oh, another shooting, oh, so sad, couple of, candles and move on.
Listen to Mark Halperin. what he's reporting. See if it'll play here, guys. Let me just go to the file. Okay, here we go.
Family.
Okay, let me start it over where he gets it.
Are telling me that the family of, I just need to look up her name, I apologize.
Ella Cook, I think.
Thank you,
Mark.
thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. That the family of Ella Cook, the Alabama young woman who was a sophomore, has been told that she was the target of what happened at Brown. I have no idea whether that's true. There's other theories about why the person did what they did, but now that we don't know who the assailant is, it's going to be harder to say. But if it's true that she was targeted, that's a big story because she was one of the most visible conservatives on that campus. Don't know that it's true, but probably most of you don't even know that that's being alleged because you'd have to follow certain accounts on X or have sources, as I do, who are telling me that. So, Amber, if she was targeted, and again, we don't know that, but if she were targeted, what would the implications of that be?
Well, I'll start with a couple of things that I think lend credence to that theory, which is one, typically when we see mass school shooters, they don't just stop and walk away, right? Usually they keep going until they're apprehended by police, shot dead, or they kill themselves.
Yeah, Amber,
in this case,
let me just stop you.
Yep.
I should have been clear. She was the number 2 person at the Young Republicans branch on Brown's campus. So that's why some people are concerned if she were targeted. Go ahead, Amber. I apologize.
Right. Well, and the other thing is, if the police are telling Brown students that they are safe, they don't have to shelter in place anymore, but they don't have a suspect in custody, I think that also suggests that this was some kind of targeted attack.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it would.
It would, but the question is the police, the very police that's refusing to tell what the shooter shouted, is going to actually narrow this down into a possible targeted assassination? I highly doubt it, but I hope they do.
Here is LifeSite News. Brown University shooting victim Ella Cook, remembered as a conservative Christian from Birmingham, Alabama. And I think she was actually, I don't know if she was one of the ones, but some of the students in there were studying to be neurological scientists, even surgeons. I don't know. It sounded like a very smart group. I thought she was known for opposition to LGBTQ, is what I've read in a few reports as well. So anyway, this kind of goes to what we've been saying, that all of this is not random and these things are not unconnected. This is all part of a coordinated pattern, I believe. And somewhere, somehow, the message has been given for these operations to be carried out. And you notice now they're happening almost on a weekly basis, right?
Yes. And if you would allow me to make a suggestion, let's start using the term. The black-green axis has been activated in America.
1-800-347-9829, 1-800-347-9829. Again, 1-800-347-9829. Your thoughts, your comments, your questions, phone lines are now open. 1-800-347-9829. They are making a big deal over the way the suspect in the Brown shooting was walking with his hands behind his back, saying that that's kind of a Middle Eastern thing. But we also see a lot of folks over in Great Britain that like to walk with their hands crossed behind their backs. I don't know if that's anything or not. Do you appreciate all the free programming we produce here at Worldview Tube? Well, if you do, we need your partnership now. If you're already supporting us, thank you. If you're not, would you please consider doing so? We have to have a big November and December end of the year giving. Please go here right now to this website, worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. You can give through credit card. You can give through PayPal. You'll find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail. You'll also find our phone number. Simply use that phone number by leaving a voicemail for Melissa or texting her, and my wife will get back with you and help you make your contribution over the phone. We send out tax receipts with our EIN number, well, the first week of February of each year. We, again, have to have a very big November and December as we get ready for pushing out more Christian Worldview programming for 2026. So thank you for going now to worldviewfoundation.com. That's worldviewfoundation.com. All right, welcome Welcome back. So it has been reported by some outlets that maybe she was one of the conservative type groups that was Ella was opposed to the trans agenda. Other groups are saying that's not confirmed yet. So anyway, we'll put it out there and we'll follow that lead where it may or may not go. 1-800-347-9829, 1-800-347-9829. Your thoughts, your comments, your questions. Annie Cyrus joins us. She is with liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. Be sure to stay tuned for Crosstalk with your host, Jim Schneider, coming up at the top of the hour on over 100 outlets nationwide, America's original Christian talk program since the 1970s. Let's start out with line one. Bob in Maryland. Hi, Bob. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Are we going to talk about Rob Reiner today, or are we just going to throw out a bunch of conspiracy theories? And Ann, I just want to ask you, why are you pushing the agenda that is somebody that hates Catholics and hates Republicans? That's just inconsiderate and truly just, I don't know, basically unearthly for you to do, ungodly for you to do, for God's sake.
Let me ask Bob. Bob, yesterday we covered the Rob Reiner. Did you not hear yesterday's show?
You know what? I did not, because I have different times to get on and out. But I listen to your show an awful lot. And, and I know the conspiracy theories that you push all the time.
Okay, what conspiracy theories? But what conspiracy theories have we pushed today? We've quoted the Weather Underground document Prairie Fire. We have gone to the website of the Turtle Island Liberation Front group. We know what they stand for. What conspiracy theories have we pushed today, Bob?
The idea that we're throwing out that these are people that hate the people from LGBTQ are targeting the right wing.
No, we didn't say that. We did not. We did not say that, Bob. We did not say that the LGBTQ. We did not say that anyone LGBTQ was targeting anyone. We didn't say that. What we're saying is there is proof that there is a group of people, Marxist and Islamists, that are targeting Christians and conservatives, some of them who are opposed to the LGBTQ agenda. But we have not one time today said that any of these people were LGBTQ. We haven't said that one time. We never said.
You did not. You did not say that. You hinted it.
No, we did not. We did not hint.
No,
we have not. We're not hinting.
You did not say it.
No, we are not hinting that the people doing this are LGBTQ.
It's almost like a circus.
No.
So you constantly do this. And so is the next program. I can't wait to listen to him as well. But
the next program is Jim Schneider. It's not conspiracy, Bob. You're the one pushing a conspiracy. You're pushing the conspiracy theory today that we were saying that these shooters are LGBTQ. We never said that. We said that there is a hostility. Bob, I'm going to let you go because you're not listening. All you're doing is talking. You're not even giving us a chance to respond. We wanted to have a cordial conversation, but go back and listen to it. We'll post it in a couple hours. Not once did we say that the shooters were LGBTQ.
Well, he did. He did correct himself. He said, well, you didn't say it. You hinted
implied
at it. No, you didn't. She did. So maybe he should call back when he makes
But he
up
listens
his
every
mind.
day, and I'm glad he's listening every day, but we sure seem to make him angry, don't we?
Yes.
But I'm glad you're listening, Bob, and you're waiting to see what conspiracy theories the next host throws out, you say. I don't know why he listens. Why does he listen? Why is he monitoring our show so closely?
Well, he did say I listen every day because it's like a circus.
I guess
he's bored.
Well, I'm glad he finds it entertaining. Let's go to John in Texas, line 2. Hi, John.
Hey, Brandon, I really appreciate you taking my call, and I'm really disgusted by the previous caller. I mean, he wasn't even giving you guys an opportunity to explain exactly what you had said. I listen to you almost daily. Anyhow, what the reason I'm calling is my question really is for Annie. Annie, I'm a great fan of yours. I think your information that you put out is so prevalent and so right on. The question I have is, with all the information that's going out, with all the things that are happening within the side of terrorists, which not every Muslim is a terrorist, but it seems that every terrorist has been Muslim. Annie, why is no one listening?
Good question, John. Thank you. Go ahead, Annie.
Great question. Yes, thank you for your kind words. It's not that nobody's listening. It's when it comes to topic of Islam, it is one of those topics that, especially in America, let's narrow it down to Americans. Americans, majority Christian, we believe in seeing the good in people. We believe in freedoms. So it's that conflict of, well, I do listen, but I'm not going to apply this unless it knocks at my door. Otherwise, I'm judging people. Otherwise, I'm disrespecting their rights and freedoms. That's where the conflict is. That's why I try to talk about Islam rather than Muslims. That seemed to work better. A lot of people are now comfortable saying the toolbox of Islam is dangerous. It's a danger to our freedoms. It's a danger to our liberties. It's a danger to our country. But other people keep talking about the Muslim aspect, which again makes that conflict for each individual. Well, as you said, not all Muslims, definitely not all Muslims are jihadist. But we need to start talking to people from the point of view of Islam rather than point of view of those who practice Islam, unless their names need to be mentioned because it's relevant to their action. Like we talk about Ilhan Omar as the Muslim congresswoman. Why? Because she represents Islam, because she wants to turn America into Islamist country.
Yep. Let me go real quick to Christine, line 4. Christine, thanks for calling. Whoop. Is Christine gone? No, Christine, come on. You always have something great to say, Christine. All right. Well, quite the program. I'm glad Bob's listening. I think maybe we can convert Bob. Think there's hope for Bob? I just find it interesting. He listens to the show every day, and then he wants to stay tuned for Crosstalk coming next to see what he has to say. Conspiracy theories. You know, we bring the Prairie Fire document to the table. We've shown their own documentation from the Turtle Island. We have brought you headlines where the New York Post says you have a Christian church-going woman attack. We have a woman that's been attacked who's a Christian, Ella Cook at Brown University. We've brought, maybe Bob's not watching, maybe he's just listening, but Bob, go back and watch on television when we post it and look at all the headlines we put up backing up these stories. And these are not right-wing websites. The New York Post is not a right-wing website, right? But anyway, I find it very interesting that he wants to monitor our show so closely. But we're praying for Bob because I think Bob is going to convert. He's going to come our direction and end up being one of our biggest supporters. That's what I'm going to believe and pray for. liveuptofreedom.substack.com. liveuptofreedom.substack.com. Bob should call in more often. Bob, you're a fun caller. Call in more often. All right, take care.
This has been...
All right, welcome back. We're back here with Just Annie and WROS out of Jacksonville, Florida. I
do have a question. I know Bob may not be hearing. Hopefully, Bob goes back and watch and sees this part. But I want to know, does Bob also pick up the phone and call the leftist media and tell them why they're pushing so much propaganda and so much conspiracy and so much cover-up? I think he should start doing that.
Yeah.
He's very good. He's very convincing. If what he's stating was true, he's very good at it. The problem is he overreached on his statement where then he had to backtrack. But I think he should start making calls to, I don't know, some of the leftist media.
Well, that's the difference between us and them. CNN and Fox and the rest of them don't open their phone lines. We do. And speaking of confronting the liberal media, I just happened to have a clip of a lady in Australia confronting ABC News in Australia about their propaganda. Listen to this.
How are we feeling? Is this what you wanted? Is this enough now? Will you listen to us? Albanese, Wong, will you listen to us? Will you actually do something? Will you actually... don't have to stand up and say anything because we don't believe you anyway. And ABC, I've got to say, will you cut out the biased reporting? Mainstream media, we feel will you cut it out? Will you actually let us have a voice? Because we feel that part of the reason that the Jewish people have experienced such a massive change in Australia towards us. I mean, I'm Aussie. I'm Aussie, you know, and I'm not a religious Jewish girl, but a woman. But since October the 7th, since all the hatred that's been thrown at us, I started to wear my Magen David because I'm Jewish, and if you have something to say, you can say it to me. And ABC, please stop with the biased reporting.
Yeah, there she said it right to their
Good
face.
job.
Good for her, right? Good for her.
Very well delivered. Yes, and that's what we need to do. All joking and laughing aside, we need to take a stand, the right stand, and start calling out. I have encouraged my audience a lot of time. If you see somewhere, send it my way. I will fact check and I will tell you if it's a lie, if it's, half truth, if it's truth, and then go back to your source and call them out. Call me out. If I ever say something that's a mistake or it's overreach or I don't know, conspiracy, call me out.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it respectfully. She just did it very respectfully.
She sure did. By the way, I want to bring attention to this elderly couple that tried to stop one of the jihadists when they were getting out of their car. Here's footage.
Hey guys, looks like this new footage showing two men fighting one of the terrorists, as you can see here. But also in the next video you can see it looks like one of the fighters is lying on the floor, dead or injured. But yeah, it looks like there's more to this story, more information coming out. But
So it looks like and I'm reading now, it looked like, I think it was a Jewish couple that tried stopping him while he was getting out of his car. Here's a still footage. It's a husband and a wife from what I've read, and there they are laying now dead. But apparently they attacked him. Shouldn't say attacked him. They were trying to take his weapon from him and stop him when he was getting out of his car. I guess they saw what was coming. There's so many stories of heroes that need to be talked about, and this is a couple I wanted to talk about. And I think they were a Jewish couple, if I remember correctly. Gurman, Sophia and Boris Gurman.
That is so sad.
Are you hearing this for the first time, Annie?
Yes, this is the first time I heard and saw the pictures and the video. It is tragic. And yes, that is very brave. But can you imagine if they had legally had the right to carry weapons?
Right.
The story would be so different.
And apparently they're going to crack down on handguns.
And again, this is why of course, yes, I saw the video of their prime minister, I think, saying we got to be more strict, which is he's angling the fact that the father had license for his weapons. That is not being more strict, it's being more accurate. Somewhere you made a mistake on your background check or something. Other people shouldn't pay for that.
Nope. liveuptofreedom.substack.com, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. By the way, Bob wanted to make sure, why we were not talking about Rob Reiner. We did a whole show on that yesterday and even confronted our concern with President Trump's remarks about Rob not being very respectful to the family at this time and the death, the way he was killed. But it is interesting, Bob wanted to go to that topic. I don't know what we could say about that topic. We reported everything we could yesterday, but that's interesting. Out of all the things that he could have pulled that we should be talking about, he went to that one, but there you go.
Well, I should say, Rob, just in case if you also watch Worldview Tube, in 1 hour I will be starting my show. Feel free. We don't open the phone today, but tune in.
Tune in, Bob. You can listen to Crosstalk, and then the next hour, 3 o'clock, you can listen to Annie at Worldview Tube. You have 3 hours of this to get you all lit up.
I have more conspiracy coming up.
There you go. She promises lots of conspiracies. Take care, guys.
You're watching Worldview Tube, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon Howse.
What if there was a product that could help you control cravings, burn more fat, boost your metabolism, promote healthy blood glucose levels, lower inflammation, optimize insulin sensitivity, support healthy blood lipid levels, and support healthy blood pressure? Introducing Bellatrim.
My wife has been taking Bellatrim now, and she said, Brandon, we've really got to promote this because people don't understand this isn't just about a comprehensive weight management. It will help regulate